I am C. Danny Johnson. I'm former pastor at Thankful Baptist Church in Johnson City, where I had the blessed experience of serving for 21 and a half years as pastor. I now am a full-time missionary, uh, even though I would define missions a little different than some. I operate a nonprofit called Community Life International. And through that nonprofit, we have collaborated with some other nonprofits in order to provide services and resources to those to whom we seek to minister. The primary one being the North American School of Theology, where we offer classes to rural pastors in three locations now, in the Virgin Islands, in Kenya, and in Uganda. We've conducted classes in Kenya for 11 years, 14 years in the Virgin Islands, and 6 years in Uganda. So we hope to go again this September and conduct those classes. We're looking at opportunities as well of extending those learning centers, as we call them, to Rwanda and Nigeria. Our vision and hope is to eventually develop a network of learning centers that are all operated by those who are closest to it, and we support the school or the center for first few years, about 4 years, financially, but always with the objective that it become independent and missionary itself in terms of reaching out and collaborating with other learning centers that may be nearby. So with that, we also work with other organizations and individuals to just deepen the experience of African Americans to have a missionary or short-term missions experience, because it's still a relatively new venture for many in the African American church. So that has become more successful over the past 15 years, in that there are more and more now that venture out and try to make a difference in the world and better see themselves as initiators rather than observers. I don't know if that's a fair characterization, but I think it's close. So for that, we claim some success. I've now been given the opportunity to serve our Baptist State Convention, the Tennessee Baptist Missionary and Education Convention. Dr. Elder Joe B. Maddox is the president. He has extended to me the opportunity to serve as the president of the missions department for the state convention. And that's exciting because that culminates at least this past 15 years of work to help inspire and teach about the role missions should play in the church, even though it has not up to this point. But that is also growing. We've developed classes. There is a certified curriculum that I helped to develop that is being reviewed and may be adopted by the National Baptist Convention. So that's a feather in the state convention cap, if you will, to provide that kind of curriculum. So we're excited about the potentials, and we look forward to extend that even further by bringing the concepts home as well as to foreign locations. Oftentimes we go to different places in the world with the intent to help and to provide education and to provide a hopefully a better understanding of the role Christ can play in a person's life. But I think sometimes, at least for me, we come back home and we kind of take those lenses off, and we kind of fall back into patterns of tradition and things that we've become habituated by. But I think if we use the lens correctly, we look for opportunities to impact community, and that's a big thing for me. And when doing that, we saw opportunity to create economic empowerment, and in so doing, we find that we can reposition the church so that it's more in a position of leading people toward a more positive environment rather than simply being present and observing, but to actually offer leadership. And one doesn't have to be an expert in every field to do that. If you create a space where experts can gather, that's providing some leadership. And if the biblical values are the context of that space, that is also offering leadership. So that's the path I'm trying to pursue. Once I completely develop this program that I think I'm going to call On a Mission, because it ought to be open-ended, we'll look to take that around anywhere we can tell that story and see how it works. I had a friend in New York that used to say, whenever you have a new idea, you run it up the flagpole and see who salutes it. So we're going to run it up the flagpole and see what happens.